Okay, hi guys. Welcome to episode 6 of A Moment with Miss Dudley. Hi, I'm Miss Dudley. Hi. Today's episode, I want to talk. In today's episode, I want to talk about identity. Who are you? And this is a message more so towards the men that may find themselves wanting to date, court, and eventually marry a woman. We women want a man of character. Let me just say that right now. Of good character, good moral character. I initially thought about the subject of who are you identity wise, or know who you are, but it's all wrapped up into that character thing. When we meet guys, and I have been experiencing this since I was in my probably late 20s, I think. I'll meet a guy, and at the time I was active duty military, so it was pretty easy to find out who a guy was, what he did, because you date in your circle, you date in your environment. You encounter people on a day-to-day basis, and you meet new people, so that's who you end up dating because that's your environment. It's like college, you meet a guy on college campus, then you start dating him because you met him in college or a college party or something like that. So um gosh, that's a little better. Who are you? We tend to, guys tend to associate themselves directly with what they do for a living, and establish their self-worth by how much they make for a living, or how much money they make on the job that they do for a living, or in the occupation that they do for a living. And that's all nice, great. Make your money, have your job, have your career, have your passions and the things that make you get up out of bed every day and, chase your bag. But what type of person are you? When you're talking about getting into a relationship and, getting with someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, we want someone of moral character, because you can't buy that. No matter how much money you get in the bag, you cannot buy good moral character. You cannot buy a person who's honest, who's forthright. You cannot, get the ability to not protect your own self-interest. You can't buy a non-narcissistic personality with money. You can't buy those things. That's what women want. We want a man who can be trusted with our hearts. We want a man who can be trusted with our thoughts. We want a man who can be trusted with our spirits, a man who can pray. We require even. These are more so requirements, unless this woman is the type of woman who wants a man who lies like, a lawyer. You know what I mean? Like a high profile criminal lawyer. Yeah, they may even want a lawyer, sure, but we really want someone who can be trusted. And a lot of times men work on the outs, and some women do too. Don't get me wrong, I'm not beating up on guys. You male individuals are wonderful. We love you. But we're more interested on who you are on the inside, because that's the person that's going to help us to sustain a lifestyle, to sustain a marriage, to maintain good relationships that we can display in front of our children and or stepchildren if we marry into. And it may be like in my case, because I don't have any children right now, but I may end up marrying or remarrying into children and families. We want a man who's not violent, who's not given over to his anger. Everybody gets angry, but if you totally flip out and you don't even know how to reel yourself back in, no woman, no real grown woman has time to be chasing down your anger, to be getting you, chasing behind you saying, baby, calm down. Sure, we'll be that gentle place for you, but you need to have self-control minus your lady. That's just it. You need to be a person, and if you're not, that's fine. It's not like this wonderful checklist that you absolutely have to have before you can get in and have a good relationship. But these are things to point out, because their character, areas in your character where we hope that you've thought about, and we hope that you're giving consideration to, and that you're working on, because that's what growth is and maturity is all about. Working on your character. Where are you character wise? Because certainly who you were at 21 is not who you are at 31. Certainly hope not. We hope not. Who you are at 31 is not who you're going to be at 41 if you're not 41 yet. Women want a man who's not afraid to admit that he's wrong. We require it because growth happens. We're not always right. None of us are, male or female. A man who knows how to lose graciously in a mature way, and not just, oh, I hate to be wrong, so I'm going to be mad at you and the whole house, and I'm going to kick the dog and the cat too. Because, come hell or high water, you're so bound up in your pride and stubbornness that you hate to be wrong, and you will never admit that you're wrong. That's dangerous. Some people, they would literally throw away an entire marriage and good relationship rather than admit that they're wrong. Some people struggle with custody. The paternity of a child. Say you're in a relationship with a man or a female, a male or female, and the relationship was non-existent. You just produced a baby, and you don't want to be with the person, but you just need to know if the paternity is settled and whether or not the child is yours. But you would deny it till the cows come home. You would deny it until Jesus comes. That child doesn't need to have a father or a mother that's just that stubborn and dead set on being right. And what goes along with that also is a person who cannot stand correction and stand to be corrected. That's not a person of good moral fiber, because life happens. We're human. The human error happens. We're prone to make mistakes, poor choices, and be wrong. So women, we require a man who can afford and can be okay with having been wrong, and being okay with admitting that he's wrong. Gosh, there's so many things. But overall, it's not what you make for a living that we're most interested in, because yes, you can buy certain things, but a good moral character is going to enable you to be able to keep and maintain those things that you require, that your occupation, your job, what you do for a living has afforded you. But again, poor morals and a poor character, you will end up losing it really, really quick. There's like a popular saying in like the modern church, or church lingo, is don't let your what is it, how does it go, God will take something to the effect of basically that God will take you some places that sometimes your character cannot keep you. So it will behoove you to work on your character and to allow yourself to be worked on. Allow the mistakes and the poor choices you've made in your life to help you to grow. Admitting that you're wrong, talking over things with your exes when breakups happen, giving women closure goes into that, because you can learn a lot about yourself if you allow certain discussions to take place. No one's perfect, but just be willing to grow. I think that's probably the biggest bottom line. Oh, and also be a man of God, or at least willing to submit himself to God, because if you're so proud that you think you're God, you'll certainly never admit that you're wrong. You will lie. You will have a narcissistic personality. You will, you'll be controlling. You won't subject yourself to growth because you figured it all out, and that's negative. That's not conducive to a positive, long-lasting relationship that will end in marriage or result in marriage, in a committed relationship. Again, who are you? Are you a person who's only identifying with what you make? As a little girl, my father had a really bad accident right the year I was born that caused him lifelong issues with his health. In that same car accident, my uncle died, so that'll ought to tell you how bad the accident was. But it affected his health in such a way that he could not go back to doing what he did for a living. And I saw my dad struggle with self-esteem issues and depression because, and especially for Southern males, Southern men, they exclusively identified their self-worth and their self-image with what they did for a living. And if they could not provide for their families, then who are they? Were they men? Were they invalids? Were they pitiful and pathetic? My dad had a good character, though. He was a good man. And once he went through physical therapy let me backtrack a little. Again, he went through health challenges where he ended up losing one of his legs, having one of them amputated, and then another amputation occurred on that same leg. Then eventually he had an amputation on the second leg, and he ended up being a double amputee, lower extremity amputee. But it did not stop him from all those health challenges over the years, did not stop him from learning to walk with a prosthetic leg when he did have his other leg, and walking even through the physical pain that prosthesis caused him to bring our lunch money to school, because he was committed to his children. He was committed to providing for us, making sure we had lunch money. He kept his word. I'll make sure it gets there. He would even negotiate with the lunch crew at our school, and he would come like by the end of the week and pay our tab off. This is the man who was committed to his commitments. He was a man of his word. Women require a man of his word. And if there's something that will come along that will cause you to change your mind or to not keep your word, be man enough to admit that. Not a man of excuses, not a man who's cowardice, and who doesn't confront things head on. Be a man who will confront issues. And that leads me to another subject. Not be a man that's given over to confrontation and a man who's easily angered, but a man who knows how to confront issues. In confronting issues, you have to be willing to take responsibility for your part in the particular matter, because it's the issue that's causing the problem, that's hindering the harmony and the peace and the agreement in the relationship. It's not necessarily always confronting the person, because a lot of times when you confront a person, they'll run because they feel attacked. And if a person is instantly put on the defense, then a lot of people, male or female, will shut down. So women require a man who will confront an issue. Women, we just want the truth. Just tell us. Let's talk about it. We're talkers, we're communicators. And so we require a man who is not afraid to confront issues, because the issue will be the matter that, again, is hindering the good flow of love and balance in a relationship. And that's what we want and require. We don't want a man don't require a man who's so given over to his ambition that he will let the relationship lax, and he knows the proper balance, or be willing to learn and address the balance and or imbalances should they come in their relationships where he's working too hard and he's not giving attention over to his relationships with his lady, his wife. Oh gosh, I know I've said a lot, but I didn't want to make this video too long. But who are you? Again, be a man of moral character. Don't just be a man who can earn money. That's great, because we need you to be able to take care of yourself too. But work on your character as well. Don't be afraid to work on your character. Don't be afraid to go to counseling. Don't be afraid to go to, a spiritual advisor like your pastor or, one of the deacons and elders in your church. Talk to your uncle, your granddad, and be man enough to not follow their advice if it's ill advice. Like, go and get 2 women. No, you know what I mean? So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me in today's moment. This has been a moment with Miss Dudley. And remember to pay attention to life's moments, because your life can change in a moment and in a twinkling of an eye. Please comment, like, share, And don't forget to hit the notification button to let you know when new episodes are coming. Okay? Thanks so much, guys. Take care. God bless. Bye.